So what is the purpose? Well, we're looking at being a national, part of this national organization, CanBIM, focused on all design professionals. So that's not just architects and engineers, but those involved in fabrication at a design level, SMEs involved in design. We want all of those to be involved in this aspect. We want to increase industry adoption of BIM amongst designers. So we're going to look for ways that we can do that. We want to promote consistency and use of BIM in design at all levels, and rationalize the use of BIM within the design community. Right now there's a lot of myth, there's a lot of legend, there's a lot of hearsay about BIM, and we believe that CanBIM can take a leadership through this committee of identifying ways in which it be rationalized within the community. And we want to standardize best practices and protocols for use by designers. Because CanBIM is uniquely structured in that it's a member-driven organization, we're not an association-driven organization. So then all members can have a vested say. So then we're looking towards these members to provide us these best practices and protocols as we move forward. And importantly, even though these committees will act somewhat independently, we know that not one of us can undertake anything related to building information modeling without considering its impact upon the others involved in the process and the act of construction and putting a building together. So then these committees will actually interact with one another and by extension to industry groups, so that the actions in the designers committee is not done to hurt what's being done in the contractors committee and vice versa. And by having feedback from our research and education, we're able to influence how these committees move forward. So this interaction with other committees becomes very, very critical. So our present current membership is identified here. Naturally, we're looking for more members on this committee, and there's a lot that needs to be done. And so we hope that you'll take the opportunity today to talk to us and let us know where you want to be on this committee. So what can we say we have accomplished so far? Well, I think that there's two things that CanBIM is proud of sharing in. One is that we were active in the development of the National BIM Standard US version 2. In fact, one group in particular, the mechanical led by, who's just stepped out of the room, Dave McKercher, was instrumental in changing the nature of one section, and that was the MEP handover to contractors. Dave and his group worked hard for a very narrow period of time with the person who was the author and ballot in the NBIMs to identify areas that they felt that standard was weak. As a consequence, that author went back, reworked it, took that into consideration. We also had ones involved in other areas working with the balloting, and so we're proud to say that we were part of this national standard. The other one that we're working with is BIM protocol, and we're pleased to announce today that we will be releasing the AEC CanBIM protocol, which will be available to our members. And this is a project in conjunction with AEC UK. And again, rather than write standards, we believe that we should go out and find the people who have already done a lot of work, and as a consequence, work with them to make that standard better. So we're pleased that we have this version 1, which will be released today and will be up on the website in a few days and readily available. And why version 1? Because we immediately need to start work on version 2. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on that standard to not only improve it from a Canadian perspective, but to improve it from a global perspective. And so our friends in AEC UK are eagerly awaiting our input into that next step. How did we contribute? A number of key areas. We already started the process where MEP was involved that doesn't show up quite in this one, but will be in the next one. And we had the opportunity to write a legal section, at least draft a legal section. And in the spirit of CanBIM, we would rather be generally right and moving ahead than prescriptively correct and going absolutely nowhere. So we believe it's a generally right direction that's highlighted in that legal section that gives members the confidence to move forward with sharing and working with building information modeling. So it's a very exciting development, and the hard work of a number of people who are on that committee. And so again, there's lots to do. So this protocol, a little bit more detail, developed in conjunction with AEC UK, a very similar group to us. And some of the challenges that we had with it is that they have a lot of standards that they follow in the UK. We don't necessarily have those standards here. So we had to backtrack in a way that we wrote enough for the Canadian version that was satisfactory to our members to apply the spirit of those standards without forcing our membership to somehow accept a BSA. Developed by members from companies highly experienced in BIM software and implementation. I think this speaks to the strengths on both sides of the ocean, as it were. CanBIM has a real solid membership of people actively involved with this technology day in, day out at various levels. And this standard, this protocol, came about by virtue of people wanting to have a standard that they could understand and that their offices could then adopt. It continues to be vendor agnostic, but plans are already in the works to develop a Revit version, a Bentley version, and if our membership so desires, then we look towards our ArchiCAD users to then develop a version for them. So this way we can use the baseline protocol as a means, as a stepping stone to how we use the various platforms. It's not to endorse. CanBIM is not interested in endorsing any one vendor over another. There are a vast array of BIM-enabled technologies which we all use, and we use from different vendors. But the importance is that we do need to have this protocol built around certain platforms that will then help the offices that are using those platforms use it more consistently. So what are some goals that we have for 2013? Well, as Tom pointed out in the Treasurer's report, we're looking to increase our membership over the next year by about 25–30%. And we would like to increase the membership to a minimum of 15 active members. And we will have a structure around what it means to be an active member. We honestly want people to be involved in this process, and therefore we want to make sure that we've got a structure in place that people have a say, have an involvement, and it isn't just something that shows up on your resume, that you are actually involved with us. We'll continue to work with AEC on the CanBIM protocol version 2 by working closely with AEC UK. We're going to develop protocols immediately for Revit because our membership, by and large, is using that as a platform, and it seemed natural to take it to that degree. One for Bentley is not that far behind in the UK, and we will work in drafting that with them. We want to draft general purpose industry BIM scope for, again, working with the contractors committee. How can we tie this standard into what they're doing? So we want to make sure that from one committee to the next, anything that CanBIM produces is seamlessly integrated with other protocols that other committees have put together. So we want to work in developing these consistent scope, particularly for design build consultants. And likewise, we want to review and comment on consensus documents as to how they apply and affect our designers. So the first quarter, this is what we're going to be actively doing. We're looking for these 15 active members, and again, contact any current member if you're interested in joining. We'll release, as we've done, the protocol for Revit version 1 on the basis of the BIM overall protocol. And we'll look to work towards an execution plan and a model validation checklist. These are all things that can be used readily and easily within an organization. Again, by looking at the AEC CAN BIM execution plan, we'll use what's been done in MBIMs, build on that, and work to develop something that is easy for our members to use. And our objective is that this becomes a default standard for what a BIM execution plan should be. And the model validation checklist. We all need to have something that asks the question, is it consistent, is it coordinated, is it accurate? So these are things that we're going to be providing.